everybody. Fully here. Very late, but I'm here eventually. Anyway, it's time for the weekly news recap for the 4th to the 10th of September 2023. So, this week, IGN, as well as a bunch of other places, were running Fear Fest, or the Feardemic 2023, where they go over a bunch of new horror, scary games coming out in either this year or early next year or something like that. So we're not going to go through all of them because there's a lot, and some of them are just repeats from other fests that have happened earlier in the year, Gamescoms and Summer Game Fest and what have you. So Alone in the Dark didn't really have a new trailer to show. However, it has slipped to January of next year, so it won't be out this year after all. It is taking some time to sort of distance itself from Alan Wake, probably, mostly, as well as a very stacked October that is coming this year. Luto, we have seen before. Luto is a... Hey, Lustig, how you getting on? Luto... Who dis? It me. It me. Anyway. Yeah, Ludo is kind of like PT. It's like a first-person, high-fidelity, horror, haunted house kind of thing. Mario, indeed. It Mario. Limerick Cadence Mansion is... of... trailers. You're ready to play. Here. So Limerick Cadence Mansion, a new game shown off during Fear Fest. Don't know what to think of it. It certainly has an interesting art direction it's going in. You are locked into this haunted house. You've been brought there as some kind of proofreader for a story, but it seems like the story is actually happening to you instead. There is like first-person shooting mechanics, but as you'll see as the trailer progresses, there's not a whole lot of movement to the character. You're sort of just walking backwards while things walk towards you and you shoot at them. So, I don't know. I don't know how much exactly the shooting will be involved in the game and how much of it is just atmosphere or what have you. I don't think there's a release date for this. I think this is a coming soon wishlist now. Never mind. It's all out there at the end. September 29th. There you go. Well, you can find out too how often you're just walking backwards and shooting. After Dream is... That's the button I meant to press. And you're ready. Put these all on the playlist thinking they'd be quick to play, but as it transpires, no. After Dream, you are talking through these kind of dreams that you are having with your therapist, but the dreams are maybe not dreams at all. They might just be things that are happening to you while you're asleep. It's got a bit of devotion, survival horror Korean game to it. It's mostly just because it's sort of halfway between like a sketch and a pixel art kind of thing. But yeah, there's not a whole lot about the story, just like there's some horrible shit happening in your dreams, and they may or may not actually be in your dreams. Would it help you to focus if you close your eyes? Probably not. Might be a mistake. And I think that is also the end of this month. 28th of September for that one. Slay the Princess. You may have come across Slay the Princess, because its demo has been, pretty well received. So Slay the Princess. The idea is you are tasked with the duty of going to slay the princess that has been locked up. The person who's telling you to go there is telling you that if you don't do it, she'll, destroy the whole world, etc., etc. But, she's super innocent and she has such big eyes and she's so, you couldn't possibly be responsible for, ending the world. She kills you instead. Right? And you go back and you get a chance to do it again somehow. I won't exactly tell you how you managed to get a chance to do it again. And every time you do it gets increasingly fucked up, basically, is the deal. She goes from innocent to maybe in on it, to maybe a monster, to maybe a bunch of other things. It's somewhat random, but also, fairly subversive and what have you. Anyway, good game. The demo is very good anyway, and I think schedule for October? Yeah, October 20th. for that one. Narzaleth, The Fallen World. It's not entirely clear what this game is. Narzaleth has a very impressive CG aspect to it, but the actual in-game is less impressive, and also what exactly you'll be doing in it is not clear based on the trailer. Also, it appears the character from Dark Souls 3 has died, which is what I'm getting from this, because he has almost the exact armor from the guy from Dark Souls 3. Anyway, I mean, your character is decked out for armor, decked out for battle, but there's no actual combat in the trailer, so who knows if there's any actual combat going on. There is a lot of, heavy texts, choice-based stuff, text trees, and that kind of thing that you would expect from older computer role-playing games. So if it's going down that route, cool. But if it is going to have any combat in it at all, I would like to see what it looks like so I can decide whether or not I want to play it or not. But no release date for that one. Okay, YouTube has decided to run on. Reveal. We did attempt to play this during Steam Next Fest earlier this year, but the Steam Deck went, nah, I don't wanna. Too much for me, bro. Too much for me. Get a better PC. I was like, well, it's just fucking expensive. What do you want from me? Anyway, Reveal. It's possible I may be confusing this with a different game that is very similar, but it's another PT high fidelity first-person thing. Your son has gone missing, and you believe they've been taken by this otherworldly thing, and nobody believes you. And it turns out obviously it's true because it's a crazy horror game. And you get brought through these things. I think I am confusing that with Unholy. I am confusing that with Unholy, and I don't know what Reveal is, but it looks good. Anyway, moving on. Shit, gotta look that up again. Oh, Karma, we skipped. Karma, the Dark World. The trailer shown off didn't really show anything, so I don't really know what the game's about. Narin, the Orange Room. Looks like a horror set in Asian high school of some kind. It looks Japanese, but it could be Korean as well. Don't know what the Chinese schools look like. I assume they look similar enough, but I don't think I've ever seen one. Anyway, it has a bit of guilt to it. GYLT. Has a little bit of Little Nightmares to it, where you are, this kid after school. Everyone's gone home. Somebody didn't wake you up. I guess you don't have any friends, or they thought it'd be funny for you to wake up when everybody is gone. But I guess shenanigans happen when you are at school alone, what have you. The trailer is kind of slow to get going, but it does eventually have those kind of stealthy segments that Guilt had, with like monsters hanging around and you trying to avoid them and that kind of thing. But it just looks exactly like, that's what I said. It's got a bit of guilt to it. Maybe it's got a lot of guilt to it. Maybe they saw guilt and went, I can make that fucking game. No problem. Anyway, that's Narin, the Orange Room, not the Orange Box. Wishlist now on Steam, which means they don't have a release date. So, come back to that. The Axis Unseen is a first-person survival thing set in this forest that has gone kind of wrong. There's a bunch of weird folklore animals have stumbled out of myth and legend, and you are armed with only a bow, and you must survive by taking down these mystical creatures and using their feet to survive. And obviously, that's going to give you weird powers and what have you. If they just fucking yoinked it exactly, so I can do that. No one played Guild. It was on fucking Stadia. Nobody played that shit. Ayla, or Ayla, or Ayla, or whatever. I don't know. It's an AI horror game because that's a thing now, apparently. No. Ayla is kind of like Soma. What I'm getting from it. So it's a first-person amnesia type thing, is what I'm getting from it, which is what Soma was, except Soma was more futuristic. Not the greatest start. You are nailed to this piece of wood. In not the best place either. How you actually are able to do anything after this, I don't know. Your hands would be completely useless. But okay. That's good. That's a good start. Not like I needed that or anything. Did he just pull that out with his teeth? Good move. Good move. I don't think he has any teeth left either. Also, he just snipped off some fingers, but don't worry about that. Anyway, Ayla or Ayla or whatever you pronounce it, you are actually doesn't really transpire. You don't really see it until like halfway through the trailer or something. But this is all VR. You're sitting in a VR headset. Oh, that's where it happens. And this thing is trying to try gradually make you go insane by killing you in all these games, more or less, in ways that you're not supposed to die in it. But it's also being kind of friendly and happy and what have you. So it's got that AI thing where it's just doing what it's been programmed to do, but it was programmed for evil. I don't know. That's also coming soon. Wishlist now. Unfollow, I think, is just going to be your standard creepy thing, is following you around the place, and don't get caught by it. That's what I feel like it's going to be. The trailer tries to dress it up so that it doesn't look like that, but that's fucking. It does seem to have some kind of social media element to it. But whether it's that just purely story things. Also, if user name bunch of numbers is saying anything to you, just fucking who are they? User bunch of numbers. I only have one number after my name. That's fine. When you have bunches of numbers, that's a problem. It's like when it's like a timestamp or something. Then you're in trouble. Anyway, it's a first-person cat and mouse haunted house thing. So think Amnesia again, or Outlast, or any of those kind of things where monsters chase you and you can't really do anything about them and you just need to get away from them. What the actual story is around it, or what the gameplay around it is, or why there's always a sexy nurse in these kind of situations, who knows. Anyway, that's Unfollow. I don't remember if this had a release date. I'm just gonna skip ahead here. We're gonna get a wish list now. We're gonna get nothing. We're gonna get nothing. They don't even want you to wish list them. Fuck you. We don't need you wish listing us. The Bridge Curse 2, the Extrication. So the Bridge Curse is this sort of episodic horror thing that's going on at the moment. The episode 1 only dropped 2 days ago, I think. And I think this is just episode 2. It's kind of like Until Dawn kind of thing, only it hasn't got anywhere close to that kind of budget. Retro Space seems to be, somebody said, System Shock's pretty good, right? Let's just do System Shock again. And then the System Shock remake came out and they went, oh no, oh dear. Well, we've gone too far into development now, so we're just going to keep going. So yeah, it's just System Shock. Again. But it seems to be played more like kind of pulpy, like those kind of old like 70s space ideas. Also, this got this horrible head spider thing. Content warning. This is a little late on that content warning. But yeah, like it's got the immersive sim. I won't say no to another immersive sim, even if it is very like System Shock. But System Shock's very good. Technically every immersive sim is like System Shock, so that's fine. I really don't have an issue with it. What is kind of interesting though is you might see, you may not be able to tell from the character's first-person perspective, but you don't appear to have 2 arms. You appear to have an arm and a tentacle. Let's see here. So that's interesting. Not sure what's going on there. Kind of curious about that. Anyway, that's Retro Space. The time I have left, a time-driven escape adventure. So the time I have left is a turn-based adventure RPG kind of thing. You have 6 hours to do a run, 6 hours to finish the game, Majora's Mask style kind of thing, or you die. Or I think you're going to die anyway, and it's mostly to see how far you can get in the 6 hours. And obviously, the more you play the game, the better you'll understand it, so your next run will be a little better, and so on. You'll figure out your way through it. I do like its art direction. It is, unfortunately, one of those accessibility questionable art styles where, if you have color issues, you have that, was it when red and green are flipped around and that kind of thing, this mightn't play as well for you, but for people with, we'll say, typical, I guess, vision, I think it looks nice. But yeah, I don't know how this will handle for accessibility, but I like the art direction, and the idea of a time-based thing is always kind of, I don't like the idea of it, but kind of when it's baked into the story, I think it works a little bit better. Like Majora's Mask I was fine with. Dead Rising, for some reason, I wasn't fine with. I think it was just because it wasn't really possible to finish Dead Rising in one go. I think that was my issue with it. Whereas Majora's Mask, if you know what you're doing, you can finish it. without having to rewind time too often. Or maybe it's just that you could rewind time. I think that was the issue. Dead Rising, you couldn't. You just literally had to restart the game. Anyway, that's the time I have left. That's a wishlist now deal next year at some point. Cookie Cutter. Cookie Cutter we have actually seen before, but this time they had a bit more gameplay to show off and a bit more of its story. So Cookie Cutter, you are this not animatronic, like, what is the word when you are a half-human robot? Cyborg. You're a cyborg. Created by your creator, who I don't think has a name yet. Jasmine, I think it might be their name. I don't know. I might be getting that from somewhere else. But anyway, it is a side-scrolling brawler game. Your creator is taken from you, and you somehow put yourself back together. This isn't clear how, and I'm going to skip the part where it would make no sense how you managed to put yourself back together. Let's just skip over that bit. Anyway, you are then on a quest to rescue your creator, and doing that through extremely gory means by, ripping things apart and cutting them in half and, brutalizing and pulverizing and what have you. It's got a bit of guacamole to it, because it looks like there's a fairly deep combo system going on. Okay, skip. We don't want to see that part. But yeah, it looks like its art direction is kind of heavy metal, which is really nice. It's also gross in a lot of ways, it's like intestines falling out and that kind of shit. But yeah, interesting. Cookie Cutter is, I think it's out pretty soon. Maybe? Thinking about it? Did I skip too far ahead? Possibly. Or it just doesn't have a release. That's coming soon. Okay, right. I thought it was easier. Anyway, Cookie Cutter. Beyond the Pines. Now, the trailer doesn't look amazing. This game looks like it's going to be fairly janky first-person horror thing. But the concept is interesting, because you have to protect your dog. You are gone out into the wilderness because your dog got out, and you've had to go, go after them, bring them in for the night kind of thing. And they don't want to. They don't want to leave this cabin that they found. It's debatable if it's your cabin or not. I think the idea is that it is your house. Anyway. As you can see, it's kind of janky. Frame rate isn't amazing. But anyway, your doggo doesn't want to leave the house because there's something evil out in the forest. So, you're kind of trying to calm them down and maybe go, no, there's nothing terribly evil out in the forest, but obviously there is, because this is a horror game. So there's that kind of survival element of you going out to look for your dog, bring the dog back in, survive kind of thing. Yeah, I guess you do find your dog eventually. Or that's a flashback, who knows. Anyway, that's Beyond the Pines. That's another wishlist now kind of thing. Pine Harbor, I'm not going to bother with the trailer because the trailer was very boring. But there is like a Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8 first-person shooter element to it, or a survival horror thing in this fishing village that has gone wrong kind of thing. It's just the trailer they chose just was very boring. I went to their actual Steam site. Much better. It's a much better presentation, but it's hard to extract the videos from Steam, so we're going to move on. What was the other game? Beautiful Light. Beautiful Light looked really good. It looked really, really good until I learned what kind of game it was. Then it became very not interesting anymore. It was going for this really kind of otherworldly, almost like cosmic horror thing. Like, kind of like Death Stranding, almost. It's like this military thing, stuff goes wrong, just weird cosmic horror, weird like psychedelic shit happening. You crush a scorpion for some reason. That's all really cool, and I was like, yeah, this is amazing. I can't wait to play this cool first-person single-player campaign that's going to be really cool and have trippy visuals and what have you. Nah, it's a multiplayer co-op shit. It's a multiplayer co-op extraction shooter thing. It's just PvPvE. You'll have these monsters out in the field that will attack you, but then also there's other teams out there, and you need to extract items from this, blasted world kind of thing. Yawn. I was all on board for a cool single-player campaign, but when you told me this was a multiplayer shite, I had to know better that. Anyway, that's if you're interested in that kind of thing, it's next year. Psychroma. Again, not entirely sure what kind of game Psychroma is. I think it's like a point-and-click adventure, maybe. But you are in this locked-down building, so it's actually got a little bit of... Was that Rutger Hauer game we played? System something, not System Shock. I can't remember. It was something System Redux, but I can't remember what. No. Anyway, it's got like this post cyberpunk thing. People's memories have all been scrambled because of some server shenanigans going on in the building, and you need to put them all back together, I think is the deal, but you know, horror shenanigans going on top of it. El Paso Elsewhere, we did actually play as part of Steam Next Fest. El Paso Elsewhere is a PS1 throwback, basically, to Max Payne, or just pretty much Max Payne, to be honest, but done with this like PS1 aesthetic, but in a way the PS1 would never be able to do. PS1 could never manage this kind of lighting, ever. It would never be able to do this. But yeah, it was fun. I really liked it, and the voice acting is surprisingly good. Not unlike Max Payne's voice acting. You know, you've got that very gravelly, you know, over the top noir detective kind of thing going for it, but it works. It's really good. I think that's out soon enough. Yeah, end of September for that one. Heretics Fork. Heretics Fork is a... Do I still have this? I may have removed it from the playlist because it didn't look that interesting after all. To me, at least. No, I kept it in. All right. Heretics Fork is a Steam Deck, deck building, bullet hell shooter kind of thing. So you use your cards to make your turret thing here in the middle a bit more powerful, change its weapons, change its weapon spread, its fire rate, that kind of thing. And it's your job to sort of survive various waves of enemies trying to kill you. That's it. That's the game. As I said, it didn't seem particularly interesting, at least not to me. People who like deck builders might find it a little bit more interesting. Homicipher. Homicipher is actually technically already out. This is another episodic horror thing. And the prologue is already available on Steam for free. It kind of acts as its demo. The idea of Homicipher is... It's got a bit of Danganronpa to it, and it's like a detective thing where you're trying to figure out how people died. You're meeting all these different people, and you're sort of trying to figure out, you know, how did they die, who's responsible for it, and all that kind of stuff. So as it says there, the prologue's already there, and chapter 1 is on its way sometime at the end of this year. The Kingdom and Remedy is a management type thing where you are the bad guy this time. In the Kingdom and Remedy, you are a doctor in a prison who has suffered a reputation problem, which is why you've had to take a job in the prison. You're aided by this nun who might be maybe totally is very sadistic, and is happy to aid you in coming up with this curative that will, you know, reinvigorate your reputation and maybe get you back into whatever you want to do. Who knows what the story is? I'm not entirely sure. For whatever reason, you're trying to develop a cure, and you're developing this cure by doing horrible experiments on the inmates, basically. Torturing them, subjecting them to chemicals, poisonings, and what have you. And the kind of gist of the game is to figure out this remedy and then also not get caught by the authorities. So it's you, the doctor, and the nun trying to fly under the radar, not kill too many inmates, figure out how to make this remedy, and that's kind of the gist of the game. Not really my kind of thing, but I know, you know, management kind of things do appeal to people. Managers, probably. Anyway. Hollow Body was a Kickstarter horror thing that full disclosure, I have backed. This trailer kind of... I have a feeling this is more closer to the end of the game, maybe? This might be like an epilogue kind of thing. But the idea with Hollow Body is you are playing this person who is a black market courier, and you have gone outside of the megacity, and outside the megacities, it's all just desolation. There's nothing there. But you've gone to like drop something off in this black box stop, and you're on your way back to the city. When the power in your hover car goes out, you're dropped into the ancient world of 2023. Things have gone wrong there. There's a reason nobody lives there anymore. And you need to survive because your car doesn't work anymore. You're trying to make your way back to the city. And it's all very Silent Hill, you know, PS1 era Silent Hill games. I liked what I saw in the Kickstarter pitch, and the developer is like very forthcoming in how they're working on things and when things aren't working for them and stuff like that. So it's going really well. I'm definitely looking forward to playing more of it. I have played their previous games. Guard Duty was this kind of point and click, almost Monkey Island kind of thing, but very like it started off kind of fun and humorous, and then gets very creepy afterwards. And then Chasing Static is set in the same universe as Hollow Body. It's like a first-person walkie-talkie simulator kind of thing, but it's creepy, really creepy. Vlad Circus Descended to Madness is another kind of pixel art isometric thing. You are all members of a circus. Things went wrong in the circus, and you've all now been committed to an asylum. And wouldn't you know it, things didn't stay in the creepy circus. They followed you to these. Things are generally getting much worse for you. It's a question of whether you are actually just going further insane, or are these things really happening? You can see you have a stress meter at the bottom, and you do play a clown, and so that has its own level of horror to it as well. Going back to this list because the game skipped us ahead a few times there. Deceit 2, I think, was the only one that we skipped. Deceit, way added. Deceit 2 is a, what do they call it? Social. What's that genre? Among Us. It's Among Us type game, where you're a bunch of people thrown into a map. One of you is the bad guy, sabotaging everything. Everybody else is just trying to survive, kind of thing. Like Werewolf, like Among Us, that kind of thing. Ad Infinitum, did I keep that trailer? Find out now. I did. Okay. Ad Infinitum, I think this was its release date trailer. It's gonna be out soon. Ad Infinitum is a first-person, high-fidelity horror thing. Set kind of just after World War I, I think. It's your character has come back from the war, but obviously PTSD. They're waking up, cold sweats. Their dreams are nightmares and so on. They're remembering the war. And those dreams are starting to become reality. It's not clear if you're still in the war. You might still be. Obviously there's some horrible shit going on there as well that is supernatural. But yeah, it's got that kind of horror element to it. But set during and or possibly after World War I, so your ammunition, your weaponry will be very limited. It looks creepy as shit. Anyway, and I think that is out next month. What are you doing? I tried to take a screenshot. Okay, right. Anyway, skip to the end. This is supposed to be its release date trailer. What's its release date? Alright, there it is. September 14th. That's actually out pretty soon. September 14th. Okay. Yeah, stick with me. There's a lot of these games. This live stream went on for a really long time. And a lot of them are brand new games that I'd never heard of. The Drifter is kind of set as this kind of Pulp Fiction kind of thing. It's kind of played as a sort of grindhouse film. But the idea is you have witnessed a murder. You are the Drifter, and because you witnessed the murder, they try to take you out, and they do successfully. They kill you, but you come back somehow. Play the game to find out, I guess. And now you're sort of trying to prevent yourself from dying again. So I think you come back like 2 hours early or something like that to sort of prevent it from happening. And I guess you get killed a bunch of different ways, and you have to keep rewinding time. But every time you do it, something comes back with you, this thing, and kills you sometimes. So you've got a stalker coming after you as well. It is a point-and-click game, so it's not really in like a combat situation. It's sort of like you walked down the wrong hall and died sort of game, like the old Sierra games, I guess. Deep Sleep, Labyrinth of the Forsaken. There wasn't a whole lot told about the story here, but you can see you're in shopping mall, maybe. Store at least of some kind, clothes shop. You got these mannequins hanging around that may or may not, it's like you mouse over them, it's like, that's a fucking person, shit. Like, no, it's a mannequin, totally a mannequin. Nothing weird here, definitely not. Okay, you say so. Skip ahead. They find the code, they come back out, the mannequins have moved, because of course they have. Open the door, and now they're just pushing their way through the mannequins. Oh, they're all just mannequins, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Oh, wait, that one's moving. Oh god, and then combat. Again, there's not a whole lot about the story, what's going on, but yeah, it's pretty fucking creepy. Anyway. Deep Sleep Labyrinth. Days of Doom. Project Doom, I think, was a roguelike thing. It was like a team-based roguelike game. You're trying to get to this resort, the end of the world, the last resort. And it's like a roguelike thing where you're just on the road trying to make it to this sanctuary, and gradually getting killed constantly, all the time. You have your different crew. Maybe they might help you survive, and it's, how well can you do it kind of thing. I think that's a wishlist now job as well. The Isletide Hotel, I can't find a trailer for it anywhere. To be fair, I didn't look very hard, but also I couldn't find a trailer for it. But I think it is a full motion video thing, so like Night Trap kind of thing, because they have been making their way back into not popular games, but you've been seeing a lot more of them lately. Anyway, Alan Wake 2 didn't have anything new to show. It's out soon. Project Z is just a World War II zombie game. You are pilots for the Allies, I think, possibly the Axis, I'm not sure. Crash land on this island. The island is full of zombies for some reason. Don't ask questions, and you have to survive. Don't die. For me, to be honest, apologies for anyone who's interested in that kind of game, but that's not for me. Edge of Sanity is side-scrolly survival-y type thing. You are stranded out in the Alaskan wilderness. Things are going wrong. This scientific organization, Prism. So it's got a bit of the Thing to it. I'm not sure if it's going to have the sort of impersonation stuff of the Thing. But there are going to be, weird elder terrors tearing at your sanity, as the game suggests. How much of this is survival? How much of this is scripted? It's not entirely clear what the gameplay will be. So we don't know. Don't know if it'll be any good. Band Together with Survivors. I have a feeling it's still single player. I don't think you're going to have a multiplayer co-op thing. I think this is more of a survival horror story based thing. Combat seems like it's not really a thing. It's more just surviving over time. You might have things that can let you escape from combat, but it's a wishlist now thing. Be out. Slave Zero X. Slave Zero X is a remake of the original Slave Zero, which is a 16-bit Strider type game. So this is more of it's hard to tell if it's a remake or just a remaster of the game, but it's improved the art style. It's not 16-bit anymore, but it's still, as you can see, hand-drawn sprites. Think of it as think of it as a beat 'em up game, or a fighting game, so Street Fighter, but side-scrolling. But you're not one-on-one; it's you versus a lot of enemies, kind of thing. And as far as I remember, the Slave Zero game was very hard, so I would imagine Slave Zero X is going to be much the same. Yeah, I'd be curious to see how well the game design carries over into modern game design, or what changes they've made to make it a bit more palatable for modern gamers who are not content to sit there doing the same thing over and over and over again until they die, or until they don't die, rather. Although that's not true. Plenty of people play Dark Souls, I guess. Horses, right? Did I keep the trailer for this? Because this was a fucking game. Did, okay, right. Horses. How to explain horses? Because I don't think... I'm not sure anybody can really explain horses. Anyway, it's a first-person game. It seems like you're helping out on a farm, and all the horses on the farm are people with horse heads. And there's that creepy dog. I don't think it's meant to be a weird sex thing, but on the other hand, I don't know, maybe it is. Blurred out genitals and what have you. Yeah, it's just some fucked up shit going on in this trailer, basically. But there are apparently regular people and then horses as well, and I don't know what's going on with that scene. Anyway, it's a weird game. I don't know what it's about, and I don't think I want to know what it's about. Anyway, moving on. That was weird. Tenebrae Somnia is a 8-bit survival horror game that also has live action scenes. So the cutscenes are all done in live action. Previously, if you had played an 8-bit, 16-bit survival horror thing, the cutscenes would be done like sprites, like just better drawn sprites. So it's kind of taking that same idea, but the cutscenes are like live action stuff, and it's fucking creepy as shit. Anyway, it reminds me a bit of not Haunting Ground. No, it's Scissor Man. What is that game called? Don't remember. The Scissor Man game. Anyway, I don't remember what it's called. Post Trauma is the same trailer we've seen a couple of times before. It's like this kind of slick, almost Control looking kind of game, but it's a survival horror thing. Character is nowhere near as overpowered as your character is in Control. The Fabulous Fear Machine. Don't really understand the game, to be honest, so I'm going to skip to the part where it's gameplay. So it's delivered in this sort of comic book style thing. You are playing the Fabulous Fear Machine, moving from different parts of the country and sowing fear. I think the idea is you're trying to subvert utopias. People that are like, as you can see here, there are superheroes, and you bring out mega villains, I guess, to sort of subvert that. You upturn a community by having a high school slasher kind of situation. You change people from being all banding together that now they're all out for themselves kind of thing. Like, I'm not sure what kind of resources you're using or how you build up resources or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting idea. They're obviously only showing you Middle America there. Central America? Anyway, it's a coming soon thing. Might see more of it later. Gory Cuddly Carnage. You play this anthropomorphic cat. It looks like a kind of slash 'em up, beat 'em up kind of thing. It reminds me a lot of Lollipop Chainsaw. Like, I'm getting that vibe from it considerably, in that it has like this, strong colors, somewhat punkish aesthetic to it. But then it's also got this horrible gore element to it as well. That just says, I don't know, Lollipop Chainsaw to me at least. Gory Cuddly Carnage. I think there's a demo for it out already, and it's out soon enough. Just have a day one edition, but I don't appear to have a actual release date for it. Stray Cat go pissed. Yes, Stray Cat. He's not playing anymore. He's not content to just be a cat. Now he wants to be a gory cat. Anyway, yeah, that doesn't look like it has a release date yet. And I skipped ahead too fast. Oh, we moved on to the next one. Bunny Graveyard. I think there's a game between Bunny Graveyard and that. No, there isn't. Bunny Graveyard. Okay. Bunny Graveyard. I'm going to keep saying that until it makes no sense, because it already doesn't make sense. That's fine. It presents itself as this kind of Stardew Valley kind of thing. You're coming into this game to help out Bunny. I assume they have a proper name, but I don't think it's given in the trailer. And it's all kind of fun and wholesome, and you're just helping out the rabbit. There's stuff. Going out into the forest to help out. You're doing little mini games. Farming and that kind of thing. But it's a horror game. It's on Fear Fest, so something has to go wrong, and I'm not sure if this is a different rabbit or if it's the same rabbit, but I guess at nighttime they go a little crazy. And now you're like turns into a sort of survival thing of you trying to not die at nighttime, I think. Again, nothing hugely forthcoming from the trailer, but it's a chapter 1 deal, so maybe there's an episodic element to it as well. Seventh Guest VR. So we've seen a little bit of Seventh Guest before. Seventh Guest is an old puzzle game, very old puzzle game, that used full motion video for its characters and cutscenes. That being like live action stuff. That was the original Seventh Guest. It's kind of well known as being bad as a game, but it's like a so bad it's good element to it. Seventh Guest VR is taking the same story, some of the puzzles, and it's also reusing the video. And the way it's doing the video is kind of interesting. It's like this kind of 3D volumetric thing to the people. It's done really well, and I'm just kind of curious to see how it looks like actually inside the headset, because you can only get so much when you do when you take the footage from the headset and put it onto a flat screen, it only turns out so well. You don't really get the appreciation of depth, which is always why it's so difficult to explain why VR feels good to play in, because it's so hard to show people unless you put the headset on them, and it's difficult to do. But yeah, they do have this volumetric video thing going on. It's not clear if your character is rooted to the spot here or if they're allowed to move around. I would feel like they're probably rooted at this point, because how would you show the back of the people if you don't have that footage? But that's out pretty soon. It's out near the end of October. Hellsweeper VR, also we had seen before, this was the same trailer that they showed off. Hellsweeper VR is Doom. Doom in VR, basically. Or Doom is arsed to make a PSVR 2 game. There is a VR Doom, but it's not very good. IMO. For a bunch of different reasons. Alright, Dark Fracture. Dark Fracture starts off as this kind of Silent Hill psychological thing. But it eventually becomes just a case of somebody saw Scorn and wanted to make their own Scorn. Basically, it turns into a sort of body horror, confusing maze kind of thing, first person thing. It's gonna skip ahead into that. But yeah, it just turns into that kind of Scorn look where everything looks horrible all the time, and you just don't want to be there ever. And you're being stalked by things, whether you can actually fight them or not. Who knows? Again, nothing. We don't really know anything about the story. Who knows? Who knows what that's about? And then the last three games, nothing new from them. Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl rather. It's the same footage we've seen before. Although news from that developer is that they have suffered some hardware issues in that there's been a fire at their studio. So that's probably going to delay the game a little bit. Still Wakes the Deep. We still don't know a whole lot about that. That is you stranded on an oil rig or an oil derrick, and there's something there with you. You gotta survive it. And Silent Hill Ascension, we still don't really know what that's about. Still think it's like an asymmetric multiplayer horror thing, so Dead by Daylight, but Silent Hill. It's kind of the vibe I had got from it, but we still don't really know what the deal is with it. Anyway, that was Feardemic 2023, or Fearfest. If you prefer, the link to that will be in the paste bin if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're watching live, just look at it. Anyway, moving on. That wasn't the only thing that happened this week, though. We did also get news that the Patapon spiritual successor, Ratatan, has completed its Kickstarter campaign successfully, very, very successfully, as it made like more than 10 times what it was actually asking for. It was only asking for £100,000, and instead received more than £1 million. Now, you might think 100k is a bit low for a video game, and you're right, it is. It's extremely low for a video game. This is more that they probably have private investors before this, or they probably got an injection of private money, private capital, and the Kickstarter was mostly advertising or marketing element to it, which isn't great. I don't really like it when Kickstarters are used to do that, but it does sort of promote the game a bit better. More people will get to see it, and it can transpires, oh, this game made 10 times its funding goal on Kickstarter, so it's gonna be great. Like, I don't like that kind of thing, but it does work. Like, it does work for them. So, I wouldn't mind paying another Patapon type game, and since Sony is hell-bent on ignoring Japanese developers, it's probably the only way you'll actually get it. Anyway, the free Epic game this week is Spell Drifter. I'd not heard of before. Spell Drifter combines the puzzle-like positional tactics of a turn-based RPG with the customizability and replayability of a collectible card game. The result, a hybrid wherein players must juggle the resources at their disposal using both time and space. Okay. Knock yourself out, I guess. It's free. As soon as I saw card game, I had to nope out of that. Anyway, those are some of the games you can play soon, but what if you wanted to play something right now? Well, if you have an Xbox or a PC or Game Pass or whatever, you can play Starfield, finally. Unless you bought the Super Mega Deluxe Edition, in which case you could have played it last week. But its technically official release date was this week, so Starfield is now available for people who have Game Pass or who were waiting for the standard edition and didn't want to pay $90 or $110 or whatever it was. Your standard Skyrim, but it's in space now, or Fallout, but it's in the future and it's in space. What I've seen from reviews, that's kind of been the gist of it. It's like, this isn't a huge leap forward for Bethesda games. It's kind of just, did you like Skyrim, but wanted it to be in space? Cool. Play Starfield kind of thing. I haven't played it myself, because one, I don't have Game Pass, and two, it doesn't work on Steam Deck. So, yeah, it's going to be a while before I can check it out for myself. It's a bit too early to get a new PC. I can't really afford when I don't have space. If I had space, I would have just a dedicated gaming PC, but I don't have the space for it. But my PC kind of has to double as both a everyday thing and a gaming rig, and it's been a while that I've actually used it for any gaming things. And besides, I don't think it has the processing power to stream and play at the same time. I kind of would prefer to have a separate streaming rig, maybe a streaming laptop and a gaming PC. Possibly look into it that way. Anyway, that's Starfield. That's one of the new releases this week. And then the other new release is a game called Chants of Sennaar that is almost certainly going to be overshadowed by Starfield and Baldur's Gate 3, which is also out on PlayStation this week. I have been playing through Chants of Sennaar and have since finished it and platinumed the game. It's really good. Really, really good. I really liked it. So, Chants of Sennaar, you are this hooded figure. You wake up at the bottom of this tower, and as you are climbing the tower, you are coming across different peoples. You do not understand their language, and you are using sort of intuition, deduction to sort of figure out what these different glyphs mean when they talk to you. You eventually figure out what the word for me is, what the word for you is, for person, for hold, for go, stop, for no, that kind of thing. And as you're working your way up, you'll find different peoples, different languages, but some of the languages are in common. Some of the words they use are similar enough. You'll find elements where, these peoples might have been together at some point, or, friendly at some point, because you'll find a Rosetta Stone type thing of the two languages printed together. So you can say, these are direct mappings and stuff like that. So it's got a bit of Return of Obra Dinn to it in that sort of deduction element. And a little bit of what's that game? Case of the Golden Idol that also has that element of deduction to it. I really liked it. I was downloading Baldur's Gate 3, and that's a big game. It takes a while to download. Chants of Sennaar, I was on my wish list, and it was like, hey, that game's out now. I was like, oh, okay. I couldn't remember why it was on my wish list. I was like, there's something about this game I liked. Can't remember what it was. So I downloaded that, started playing it. I was like, oh yeah, that's why I like it. Cool. And I was like, okay, well, we'll play this until Baldur's Gate is ready. And then Baldur's Gate was ready. I was like, I'm gonna keep playing Chants of Sennaar instead. And I did. And now I've platinumed it, so now I can actually go into Baldur's Gate. But still, recommended. It's only €20. Give it a shot. Also, there's a demo for it. You're not sure if you like the full thing. Anyway. Unfortunately, it is now time to talk about the worst parts of video games. Video game industry. So, streamer in Japan gets 2 years of jail time for uploading Let's Plays and anime spoilers. So, this is kind of a mismatch with Japanese copyright law and Western copyright law, we'll say. So, Japanese copyright law, kind of the two biggest differences are copyright violations in Japan are considered criminal as opposed to civil issues. So, a civil issue, you pay a fine, goes away, maybe, if you can afford it. Criminal law, you're going to prison, basically. That's kind of the gist of that. And the only carve-out they have, in Western law, you have a carve-out for fair use, which is what Let's Plays come under. Parody comes under that, news, that kind of thing. So if you're using footage or information or whatever that is copyrighted content, if you have a fair use reason for it, i.e. you're critiquing it, you're reviewing it, you're using it as parody, there's a whole bunch of things that come under fair use. Fair use doesn't exist in Japan. The only carve-out they have for that is that it has to be used in a way in that the harm it's preventing of you using it supersedes the harm it caused, and the harm it caused is loss of revenue for the copyright holder or something like that. An act unavoidably performed to avert a present danger to the life, body, liberty, or property of oneself or any other person is not punishable only when the harm produced by such act does not exceed the harm to be averted. So it's like you needed to use copyright information to like prevent a death. I don't know how you would do that, I don't know, but let's say that was the case, you wouldn't come under a criminal violation in Japan for that. Point is, it's extremely narrow how you would get away from it. One man was just sentenced to 2 years in prison for uploading and monetizing some YouTube videos that were let's plays and summaries of animes. The game in question is Steins Gate, My Darling's Embrace. So this case is going back all the way back to 2019. The game itself is way older than that, though. So the case itself kind of doesn't really make sense because the whole thing they're wrapping it around is that they were spoilers. That seems to be the complaint from the copyright holder, is that he uploaded spoilers. It's a let's play. The idea that there's going to be spoilers in it is somewhat implied. You know, you're watching someone literally play through the game. Anyway, he uploaded gameplay and anime videos without publisher permission, uploading gameplay of Steins Gate, My Darling's Embrace. The complaint apparently stemmed from the fact that Yoshida, the person accused, monetized the videos. That's a YouTube issue, really. I mean, ads are going to play on that video anyway. If it gets enough views, ads will play regardless, even if you turn off monetization. Are they going to sue YouTube for that as well? Probably not, because you don't have the fucking money to go after Google. But you probably have the money to go after just some guy uploading Let's Plays. In the case of this man and what he uploaded, the main impetus for wanting him jailed appears mostly to be spoilers. The complaint was characterized as malicious cases of posting videos containing content and endings without permission from the rights holder. Malicious posting. How do you maliciously post a video? There isn't like evil YouTube. YouTube's already evil, but there isn't like a malicious version of it. So I will maliciously post this. It's a different thing where you just randomly tweet spoilers for a show. That's different. But if somebody's coming into your channel for a Let's Play, the spoiler is implied. No, the spoiler's already there. It's different for people who are like, you know, a new game has come out and it is trending, so they put in, you know, final boss, here's their picture kind of thing on the thumbnail. That's different. In some ways, I guess that could be malicious as well, but this isn't what's happening to this guy. Anyway, spoilers got a man 2 years of jail time. It's the gist of this. If you're gonna be a streamer or whatever, don't do it in Japan. Yes, is the takeaway from this. Anyway, moving on. Dying Light 2 microtransaction outrage sparks response from Techland. So, I don't know what, a whole bunch of windows there did some shit. Okay, anyway. The latest Dying Light 2 update not only added a payday crossover, but also introduced Dying Light points, the game's new currency meant to replace the more traditional model of purchasing premium gear bundles, where you just, here's money, give me thing, done. That's our transaction complete. The community responded in an overwhelmingly negative fashion. I wonder why. So this is a publisher trying to shoehorn in microtransactions. And the game has been out for like 2 years. Way under the radar. It wouldn't have come up in reviews. If you read reviews for Dying Light 2, they won't mention anything about microtransactions. This is why they do it. They wait a while. This is like the Activision playbook. Anyway, the old system was simple in that players just bought the gear bundles for a flat price with their territory's currency on their digital marketplace of choice. Why you couldn't have just stuck to that, I don't know. But they've replaced it with this DL points, Dying Light points bundles, where you cannot buy the number of points you need to buy the thing you want. You can only buy them in batches. You know, it's like 500 Dead Light points, Dying Light points, 1,000 Dying Light, yada yada yada. But the bundle you want obviously is never tied to those numbers because they don't want you to do that. They don't want you to do 1-for-1 transactions. They want you to have points left over so that you'll go, I have points left over. I don't want to waste those points. I don't want them to just sit there and do nothing because I spent money on them. So I'm going to have to find something to spend them on. I think I'll just buy another bundle of points. That way I'll have enough to buy another package and I won't have wasted my money. That's what they want from me. That's what this whole designed to do. That is why you can't have a direct thing you want, even if it is in made up bullshit currency. Well, currency is made up technically, but this is more made up than most. If it was a one-to-one thing, you could also show in court that there is like a actual value attached to this thing because there's one-to-one with the money as well. They don't want that either because that brings up gambling and stuff like that. And they don't want to get into that realm of things. So that's another reason why there's this abstraction. But the other reason is that they want it in the back of your head that you spend money on these points and they're not doing anything. And you don't want to feel like you wasted your money. So you'll do something to get some use out of it. Anyway, the developer has come back to say that they've decided it was intending to work on the Dying Light points model and its pricing further, polishing and adjusting it to give players the best user experience possible. It sure seems like you had the best user experience possible already, which was, here's the thing, here's money, thanks. Done. Transaction complete. You got your money, I got the thing I want. No other issues. This is them getting caught, trying to do some bullshit, dark patterns crap. The game community being well aware of it at this point. Trying to shoehorn it into a game that has already been out for a very long time. Very long time, 2 years, I think. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see if they actually do anything about that. Blizzard plans to drop new Diablo 4 expansions every year. Franchise manager Rod Ferguson said the team's focused on Diablo 4 for years and years to come. So, as well as its quarterly seasons, the game will also receive a new paid expansion every year. That seems like a good thing, though. Why is this in industry bullshit? I would think that would be in an update section. This is an industry bullshit because how are they gonna get that to work? How many hours are people, content makers, environment artists, animation riggers, 3D model artists, how much work are they gonna have to put in to not only put out seasonal stuff, but then also put out a full expansion every year? That's a lot of work. Activision already have QA teams unionizing because of how poorly they were treated. And they want to pile on a fucking shit ton of work to make that happen. So either going to happen is the seasons quality will slip, or the expansions will not be the same quality that you would expect, or they're going to just crunch the shit out of their QA team and their development team. None of these things affect upper management. They can just make any decision they want about this kind of thing. Go, fuck you, make it happen. Job market isn't particularly great for the video game industry. You might see it's like high employment in a lot of developed countries at the moment, but a lot of that is because people don't really make enough money and kind of have to just take the jobs. Whatever reason. Inflation or wage deflation or people just not being paid what they are actually worth. The point is, you're somewhat locked into that job and kind of feel like it's quarterly seasons or a paid expansion, not both. Pick one. Doing both is just going to put incredible stress on their dev team. And then even more stress on the QA team who have to test it all. They are already treated like shit. Like, there is a reason the first video game union came out of Activision. There's also a reason the second video game union came out of Activision, and the third one came out of Activision. The fourth one came out of Ubisoft. I think the fifth one was also Activision. Well, point is, they're not good at this kind of thing anyway, and they're about to lump an incredible amount of work on their team. It's just really bad. That's why it's an injury. Anyway. Moving on. ReedPop and ESA part ways over E3. So there was no E3 this year. And it looks like there probably won't be one next year either. ReadPop were supposed to be the organizing party for E3 2023, which eventually didn't go ahead. ReadPop also do a bunch of other video game conventions like PAX, Penny Arcade Expo. They also run the Eurogamer Expo, EGX. That's it. They're also involved in a lot of Comic Cons and things like that, but that's not strictly video game stuff. Anyway, the show didn't go ahead in 2023. The ESA and ReadPop have since split, so the partnership has ended with the two of them. They couldn't come to an agreement or whatever. Seemed to be amicable though. There won't be an E3 2024 in the LA Convention Center, which is where it usually is. ESA have said that that doesn't necessarily mean there won't be an E3 next year, just that it won't be in the convention center. I kind of feel like that also does mean there won't be one, but whatever. The plan is for ESA to reinvent the entire show for 2025. My guess is they're not getting the same industry involvement, because when E3 wasn't able to go ahead because of the pandemic, most publishers discovered that they can do this themselves on their own time without it being cannibalized by other showcases. You know, like E3 is a hell of a lot of work for the games press, hell of a lot of work for game devs, and then the consumer is just bombarded with news stories, and so many things get missed. You know, E3, for one, yeah, it's a lot of fun keeping up with all that stuff, you know, finding new trailers and go, ooh, new game, and all that stuff. Hey, did you hear about this thing? No, I didn't hear about that. Did you hear about this? Oh, yeah, that's okay. That's fun. It's also very stressful for the people working in that industry, and they kind of just discovered that, you know what, we can just take our time and put out our own showcase when we want, maybe in around the same time, so people are, you know, engaged, but not like the same day where news just gets bumped and mixed up and nobody understands what's going on. So my guess is most of the publishers were like, yeah, we're just going to keep doing that because it works better for us. So I would think E3 will probably, if it does reemerge, it'll probably turn into something more like PAX or more like Gamescom, EGX, that kind of thing. So more community focused rather than press focused is probably what will happen with it. But the old E3 of there just being multiple showcases every day, you know, you having to set out a schedule, a reminder for when Sony are talking or when Microsoft are talking or whatever, I don't think that's going to be a thing anymore. It does feel like it's been replaced by Jeff Keighley's thing, Summer Game Fest or whatever. But at the same time, there is Nintendo kind of doing their own thing with their Treehouse Live stuff. Sony has their State of Play thing. Microsoft, I think, is content to hang out in the Summer Game Fest because they pretty much have it to themselves. Sony and Nintendo don't really get involved. But yeah, I mean, it's not great to see the end of E3, but here we are. Twitch sensation Only Up removed from Steam so dev can find peace of mind and healing. So congratulations, you bullied them off Steam. Its creator has removed the game from Valve's digital storefront, saying they made a lot of mistakes and need time to heal before making their next game. The game has kept me under a lot of stress all these months, says the developer indie solo dev. Now I want to put the game behind me, and yes, the game won't be available in the Steam store soon, and that's what I decided myself. So if you have bought the game already, you can still get it. It's delisted from the store, technically. Not actually gone from the store. But if you haven't bought the game, you can't get it anymore, basically. That's the gist of it. And their reasoning behind it is just a lot of stress from the community, you know, giving them shit for the game, you know, for collision issues and quality issues and stuff like that. And they're like, I don't want to deal with it anymore, so fuck you guys, I'm done. I plan to take a pause and continue my education in game design, or further with new experience and knowledge to direct my energies to my next game. What their next game is going to be, it's going to be entitled Kith, and they're working on it with a bunch of other people, but it won't be the same kind of quick mashed together thing like Only Up was. It's going to be more of a cinematic kind of game. Seems to be what they're going for. On the one hand, it's good that they, you know, recognized that they were getting stressed out from having the game there and took it down. The other end of things, of course, is that they were in a position to be stressed out like that, with the community, commenters, what have you, just going after them for... How much was the game? Like a $5? Was it even a $5? Like, it's... Guys, these are not the people you should be directing your ire towards. There are much bigger games and much bigger publishers that you should be directing your shit towards, and not like tiny guys who do make mistakes. They're only learning video game development. They took some shortcuts. You know, there is a fair bit of asset flippery going on there. Um, but these aren't the people you should be getting mad at. Anyway, moving on. We're going to move on to some silly stuff happening in the community. So, Starfield's most popular mod, Sparks Paywall Controversy, immediately gets pirated, because that's what you get for pirating a mod, or for putting DRM into your mods. So, Starfield's upscaling controversy on PC continues. So, here's the issue with Starfield and how it does upscaling. So, if you're not familiar with what upscaling is, your screen, your TV, whatever it is you're playing Starfield on, can output things at 4K. Some of them can output things at 8K. Rendering an image to 4K and or 8K is computationally expensive, which means lag, lots of it, which means low FPS. Nobody wants low FPS, so what they do instead is they render the image to 1080p and then enlarge it. But if you enlarge something like that, what you'll get is blur. Lots and lots of blur, especially if you go out to 8K. Everything will look horrible and wished and like it's been washed out. So, upscalers kind of interpret what they think it should look like and fill in the gaps. Some of them are AI driven, some of them are just algorithmically driven, but the idea is they fill in the gaps so that it's not blurry. You do still get smooth lines, straight edges, that kind of thing. And the issue with Starfield was that they went with an exclusive partnership with AMD, so it was only AMD's upscaling technology that would work. Everybody else's, it was up to Bethesda to implement the other ones, and the case was that Bethesda didn't. So on high resolution screens, if you were playing on an Nvidia machine, for instance, it won't look as good as if you were playing it on AMD. It's kind of a problem because the whole point of PC is that it's a level playing field for everybody. We're not supposed to have these weird console exclusivity issues, even though Starfield already has that console exclusivity issue with Xbox, but whatever. Anyway, for trying to put in stuff like DLSS or XeSS, which are just different upscalers for different processors, Starfield only supports AMD's upscaling technology. AMD themselves claimed that there was nothing necessarily stopping Bethesda from supporting rival upscaling technologies. However, Starfield launched without them, without options to turn them on. There has since been mods put out that will allow that to happen. Currently, the most popular mod for Starfield on Nexus Mods, the Starfield Upscaler, basically replaces FSR, which is AMD's upscaler, with DLSS, and XeSS, which is NVIDIA's and Intel's upscalers. They do effectively the same thing. Some are better performant than others, but for the most part, they do effectively the same thing. It was free and has been downloaded by over 150,000 players so far, improving their experience. Again, yada 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 yada. According to Pure Dark, the mod's creator, DLSS 2 was very easy. Bethesda exported all the FSR2 functions. I basically just had to swap where it said DSR or FSR with DLSS, more or less. Not a whole lot of work, basically, is the answer here. That's the gist you're getting from it. Very little work required. That would have been the end of the story, except Pure Dark then proceeded to make a second mod that supported DLSS 3. Number go up. This is going to be a better version of it, right? However, this one was not free. The mod was locked behind a paywall, specifically beyond Pure Dark's Patreon. So you have to become a member of their Patreon to get access to a password that would allow you to access the mod, thus enabling DRM, digital rights management. Something nobody ever wants ever in their video games. Certainly don't want it in their mod, but they shoehorned it into this. People got kind of pissed off about it, so they went, you know what, fuck it, let's just crack that mod, and they did. That's what. So they're not paying for it. They're just gonna pirate it instead, bringing back the age-old question of paid mods or free mods, and the answer has always, forever been mods. PC gaming community responded by cracking the mod. Starfield DLSS 3 FG mod by Pure Dark has been cracked already. Tweeted something. Paid mods get what they deserve for having DRM implemented. So the community are as usual. You shouldn't be charging for people to play mods. Free the mods, exactly. Automac guy, how you getting on? The latest comments are all thanking Luke something 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 for making a free alternative to the paid mod. The kind of the gist of it here is like they themselves, Pure Dark themselves, said it was very easy to port, and then they wanted to charge for it. Like it's you shot yourself in the foot there. Like by already saying it was very easy, so somebody else could come in and go, "Oh, it's easy, isn't it? Oh yeah, it is. Free." Dumbass. Anyway, mods. Other types of mods. Starfield gets silly with these mods from Thomas the Tank Engine to Garfield. So, you have Thomas the Tank Engine can replace this companion robot character that follows you around. You can have Garfield take over your main menu. You can have Samus Aran armor as well as the ship. I don't know what this is meant to be. I think it's extra skin tones possibly for your character. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be showing off. You can have Phil Spencer in your flashlight. I don't know why you would want to do that, but there we are. And so on. There are a bunch of really stupid mods out there. And I think this one takes the roof limit off your jetpack, so you can just keep going up into the air. Bunch of stupid shit going on in the mod scene. Anyway, because of course, there has to be. Anyway, moving on from that. Here's Hollow Knight as a 3D game. So people are, getting annoyed that Silksong is still not out yet. Annoyed / kind of fine with us. Take your time. They know it'll be a good game. But somebody teaching themselves how to do like 3D gameplay and what have you have decided to turn Hollow Knight into a 3D game. So like this video is mostly taking them through how they went about doing it. See if making 3D models, turning it into a 3D engine, that kind of thing. If you haven't played Hollow Knight, go play Hollow Knight. It's a very good game. It's a very good Metroidvania style game. It's kind of hard, but, kind of difficult, but it's a good game. They had previously done Undertale. I think was in that video. Just quickly, we're there. So they had previously turned Undertale into a 3D thing, but then they were going to make Hollow Knight into a 3D game. It's a pretty good attempt, and it's clearly someone just showing how it would work out. I don't think there's any intention to actually make a full game, or if they are, they'll get copyright striked to into the next world kind of thing. A good attempt. Anyway, that video is fairly lengthy, so give it a shot or give it a view if you're interested. And we will leave. Well, I guess we'll leave Starfield to loop since it is the big this week, even though I would have preferred to loop Chants of Sennaar. Anyway, that's the news for the 4th to the 10th of September 2023. We had Fear Fest that took up a lot of time on this show. Fear Fest, or the Feardemic, is this annual show. So as the name might suggest, since the pandemic, they've been showing off scary games that are coming out either in the scary month, next month, or some stage next year, possibly the scary month of next year. Showing out, there's a bunch of games there. Some I went through very quickly, some we spent a little bit more time, some I skipped entirely because they either don't appeal to me or they didn't show off anything particularly new. But do check it out yourselves. A lot of them have free demos available now. Mostly it's for PC. I think one or two of them do have a console demo as well. We have to talk about Ratatan. The Patapon successor has completed its Kickstarter, which seemed like it was more of a marketing ploy than anything else, but whatever. They've completed their Kickstarter and that's done now. Alone in the Dark has slipped to January. Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl the developer has suffered some hardware problems. There was a fire at their development studio, so Chernobyl's probably going to take a bit of a hit for its release date. They haven't suggested when it will be, but I would expect that will be happening. Starfield and Chants of Sennaar are both out this week. Starfield, I'm sure you're already well aware of. Chants of Sennaar, you may not be aware of. It is a fun language deciphering puzzle game that I really, really enjoyed, and put off playing Baldur's Gate 3. I enjoyed it so much. I was downloading it and playing it while Baldur's Gate 3 was downloading, because that game takes forever to download. Even when Baldur's Gate 3 was finished downloading, I went, I'm kind of liking this game. I'm going to keep playing it. And platinumed it. It's good. Good game. Give it a shot. There's a free demo for it. Play the demo if you like it. Play the rest of the game. It's cheap enough as well. Industry bullshit. You can be sent to prison for uploading spoilers in Japan. Some might think, good. We should bring that in here. Others might think that also includes Let's Plays and people just reviewing things and what have you. Or spoiler casts where you're well aware you're getting into spoiler territory, but apparently you can still go to prison for doing that. So I guess if you're gonna do that thing, don't live in Japan while you're doing it. Blizzard have decided to lump a shit ton of work onto the Diablo team, that they're going to have seasonal content and a expansion every year, which is a shit ton of work for a company that already has union issues. People are unionizing because you are giving them too much work. Anyway, don't know what else we talked about. Community mods, yes, they were brought up again. Paid mods versus free mods. It's always free mods. The answer is always free. Every time. And if you still think the answer is paid mods, your mod has been pirated. Anyway, that was the news for the 4th to the 10th of September 2023. But what is happening on the channel? So, find thing. All right, so game roadmap that I am thinking of redoing because I think it's just getting confusing for people now, having these different symbols and what have you. But the idea is green, it's been featured on the channel, yellow, it is currently being featured on the channel, and gray, it is on the way. Soon-ish, or enough. This week we played Atlas Fallen as part of Foley Plays Games a Bit. It's average, very, very average, below average possibly in some cases. So Atlas Fallen is kind of a big throwback to some PS2, PS3 type games, only set in an open world. It's very button mashy, combat-wise. Can I skip to actual combat? You're fighting these creatures out in the sand. You have these big weapons to hit them with, different combos, different abilities. Sand surfing was not as interesting as I thought it might have been. It's just very basic. You know, I was kind of thinking it would play a bit more like surfing, I guess. You know, like an SSX kind of thing, and you could do tricks and what have you, but no, it's very basic. It's just a different running animation, basically. It's just kind of disappointing. The combat itself is kind of basic. It does have a really interesting momentum mechanic in that the further you get into the fight, the more elaborate your attacks become. You start to do more damage, you know, you do more combo hits, that kind of thing. You have access to new abilities, that sort of thing. But at the same time, they've paired it with you taking more damage while that happens too. And that just basically means you're trying to avoid ever building momentum. Which is kind of dumb. It's the main mechanic of the game. But I kind of feel like them tying extra damage to you on top of it was a mistake. Kind of felt like they should have taken another run at that because I don't think that was a good idea. Anyway, its main draw was meant to be its combat, and I found myself avoiding combat while I was playing the game. That's not a good look. That's not a good look for you. Anyway, that was Atlas Fallen. We played that on Friday. The VOD is up on YouTube if you want to check it out. It's probably still on Twitch too. We're going to continue playing through Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. We're playing Cecil, Recently Deceased. We have a couple of hours before our soul passes on to the afterlife. And in between that time, we have discovered that we can possess objects and interact with them and make them move and stuff like that, or trick them. The game uses the mechanic. And we are trying to use our last couple of hours to figure out who killed us, why they killed us, what's going on, what's the conspiracy, etc., and also stopping other people from dying with some weird time travel shenanigans. Don't think too hard about it. It's from the same people who made Ace Attorney. It is very slapstick, tongue-in-cheek, comedic kind of thing. Very funny. There are multiple times I've laughed out loud on the Let's Play. The dog gets shot here, yes, but don't worry, you do rescue them, and the dog is probably the best character in the game. They're fantastic. They're called Missile. Brilliant. I hope they show up again in the game. Anyway, we're going to be playing a bit more of that tomorrow. Also, continue with Final Fantasy 16. I think we're getting close to the end of the game now. We're definitely in the end run, at least. Probably two or three big scenarios left, and then we should be done with Final Fantasy 16. Again, it's new enough. I don't want to go into story spoilers and what have you, but yeah, I think we're coming to the end of that. And I think that's it. Oh no, that's not it. On Saturday, we're going to return to Foley Plays Resident Evil with Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the OG one from the PS1. So we're going to start our playthrough of that. I need to remind myself on the route I usually take, because I don't want to be floundering. Well, maybe I do want to be floundering on stream. I don't know. I do, like, my intention is to show these games the way they were played at the time they were made and stuff like that, so... In some cases, I don't want to be floundering, but in some cases, I think it probably makes sense. If I am stuck, it should make sense that I should play it that way, but whatever. Anyway, we're going to be playing that on Saturday. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, you may recall, is the Jill Valentine being followed by Nemesis. As one of the first games that had a persistent enemy, like an enemy that followed you throughout the game. Clock Tower is the other one I was trying to think of. Scissorman is the other one. But I think Scissorman was the NES, but it never came out of Japan. So Nemesis was probably the one that people found first. Anyway, good game, short game. It's very much overshadowed by Resident Evil 2. But yeah, I'm going to play through it. And then I don't know if I'll go straight to the remake or if I'll continue with the chronological release order. So the only reason we jumped around to the remakes last time was because Resident Evil 4 Remake was coming out really soon, and I knew I wouldn't be able to not play it. So we did Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, then straight to the Resident Evil 2 Remake, 4, the original, and by the time we finished that, Resident Evil 4 Remake was out. Did it that way. But my intention at the time I started doing the Resident Evil franchise, Resident Evil 4 Remake hadn't even been announced yet. So the intention then was to play them through in their release date order. I don't know. I'm deciding whether or not I want to do that. I haven't decided yet. Anyway, that is the plan for next week, though. So Monday, tomorrow, Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. Tuesday, I have D&D. Normally I have D&D on a Monday. And we would have done Ghost Trick on a Tuesday, but it has to be swapped this week. Wednesday is not set in stone yet. I don't know if I'll be around. If I am around, Final Fantasy 16. If not, there won't be a stream. Thursday, Final Fantasy 16 for definite. Friday, possibly D&D. We didn't have it last week. A few people were away and weren't able to attend, so I did Atlas Fallen instead, which was not a good consolation prize, as it turned out, but whatever. If D&D goes ahead, we'll do... there won't be a stream, obviously. If it doesn't, for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe people are off still, who knows. Life can get in the way, you know. That is one of the harder parts of D&D, is organizing people to play D&D. It's not even playing the game itself. People think, oh, it's all like, it's maths and you gotta, you know, sums in your head and role playing or whatever. No, that's not the hard part. The hard part is getting people to fucking play the game anyway. Yeah, if it goes ahead, cool. There won't be a stream. If it doesn't go ahead, I will sub something in. Maybe Ghost Trick, who knows. And then Saturday, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. We'll be starting or restarting the Foley Plays Resident Evil franchise series playthrough, and then we'll be right back around Sunday, the weekly news recap, 12 p.m. for definite this time. So fucking get out of bed. It's too warm, and it's so warm in bed that I just fall asleep almost immediately. It's so difficult. Anyway, there is actual rain happening, I've been told. Citation needed, but apparently rain is meant to happen today. And maybe that will break the temperature a little bit. Because I wanted to stream yesterday and it was so fucking hot. I just couldn't do it. Anyway, that is the plan for next week. Right, that's it for me for today, though. I won't be back streaming later. As I said, it's still too warm. I just can't do it. Even now, I'm sweating. My back is just... This shirt is just stuck to my back. Anyway, thanks for dropping by, Lustig and Automaka. I appreciate it. Keeping me company. Anybody lurking in the background also is appreciated. If you want to catch up on any of the games I mentioned as part of our Let's Plays, you can find all of them all over on youtube.com/doomtrain5, as well as previous entries in the weekly news recap. I don't know, maybe there's a particular year, or not year, I haven't been doing it that long. If there's a particular month or week or whatever you wanted to check up on, hey, what was Foley talking about that week? I don't know. They're there for posterity anyway. If you're interested in any of those links, if you're watching on YouTube, the paste bin is in the description. Just all the links are in there. If you're watching on Twitch, go search for them. Sorry. Give yourself a second. Or wait for me to fucking post it on YouTube. Who knows? Anyway, I'm gonna head off. Have a good rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow for Ghost Trick. Bye.